Hi guys, it's Arielle. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you guys are all doing well. If you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe, and if you do like this video, please give it a thumbs up. So as many of you know, and if you follow my Instagram, which you definitely should, I've recently traveled back home to Canada and Toronto more specifically to sort of enjoy some summer vacation. But I have to say that traveling from Paris back home to Toronto has been really hard, and it's actually created a lot of reverse culture shock for me. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about the main parts of reverse culture shock that I'm experiencing going from France back home to Canada. One of the most exciting things that shocked me when I came back home this time is that I had a pretty normal body, and I looked pretty much like everyone else. And maybe that sounds boring, but let me explain. In Paris, the vast majority of women are very thin and pretty short. I, on the other hand, am pretty medium-sized, and I'm very tall. So often when I'm walking around Paris, I kind of feel out of place because my body type is just bigger and wider than everyone else's. It really does make me feel very self-conscious. So it was a super relief to be back in a country where I looked like other women. Another aspect of this is the fashion and style. In Paris, I feel like we all know this by now. Parisian people have this very magical and effortlessly chic look about them, and it's very hard for me, a North American woman, to match that sense of style. First and foremost because my body type doesn't really fit that thin French woman look, and also the iconic vintage even Parisian style is something that's really unique to France and Paris, and it's not something that I grew up with, it's not something that I learned, so it's a really foreign sense of style for me and it's very hard to replicate. Honestly, when I'm in Paris, I just kind of feel ugly. All that to say, going back home really makes me feel more comfortable and beautiful in my own body, which is a really welcome shock, to be honest. The next element of culture shock that I really struggle to deal with back home in Toronto is public transportation, or lack thereof. It's no secret, the Parisian metro system is nothing short of amazing. You can get almost anywhere in Paris or in the extended Paris suburbs via metro or above-ground train. I personally don't live in the city center of Paris, but just like all of the other Parisians, I have a metro that is a 5-minute walk away from my house, and boom, get on the metro and I'm 20 minutes from downtown. In Paris, it's just super easy to get in and around town really fast. In Toronto, on the other hand, we have a grand total of 2 metros. Now, even in Toronto, I don't live very far from the city center, but for me to get downtown, I have to walk 15 minutes to a bus, wait 20 minutes for that bus, ride that bus for 10 minutes, get on the metro, take Metro 1, transfer to Metro 2, and boom, I'm finally downtown. It's a process that takes me about an hour and 15 minutes. So when I come back to Toronto, it's super shocking for me because I feel very isolated and super limited in what I can do because I can't get around easily with the public transportation system. The third thing that is really shocking to me when I come home are the prices of fresh fruit and vegetables. In Paris, I'm able to buy fresh, organic produce for a very affordable price. I can afford to eat 100% organic without breaking my bank. But when I came back to Toronto, I really felt the prices of fresh fruits and vegetables were super expensive, despite the fact that it's not organic. One example that I was telling my mom about is that in Paris, I can buy a zucchini for about 70 centimes. In Canada, that same zucchini, but non-organic, is $2. I do think that this price difference is primarily due to the fact that because in the European Union, trade is easier and cheaper, and also all of the countries are in close proximity, so transportation is quick and easy. But it's just another one of those things that shocks me when I have to come back and do my groceries in Canada. I just really do like the fact that I can eat healthy, fresh, and organic in Paris for way cheaper than I could ever do in Toronto. The fourth culture shock that I experienced when I came back home was the obscene amount of tall buildings and crazy condos. When it comes to Paris, everybody praises it for being a city with very beautiful architecture, and the buildings are relatively normal in size so that you feel like Paris is sort of the backdrop to your life. In Toronto, on the other hand, the insanely tall gray-colored buildings really make you feel like you're in the middle of a concrete jungle and you're just a tiny little ant running around. This is really shocking to me because I feel like in Toronto, the main attraction of the city suddenly becomes these huge condo buildings, whereas in Paris, we really are focused on more of the architectural aspect of famous buildings or markets, stuff like that. It's just, I really do struggle with the fact that anywhere you look downtown Toronto, it's just massive condo after massive building after massive condo. The fifth and really annoying culture shock that I experienced coming home is the fact that taxes aren't included in our prices. I know this is something stupid, maybe, but I just hate going into a store and seeing that something is priced $10 and then having to mentally add in the tax and having to pay that extra tax at the checkout. I just really appreciate that in France and in Paris, when you see 10 euros, you know that you're paying 10 euros. The tax is already included in the price that's visible to the consumer. I know this one sounds kind of dumb, but you just feel like you're spending so much more money when then at the checkout the tax is added on. Now the sixth and final element to this reverse culture shock video is probably going to be a little bit controversial, so please don't come for me. But I have to say it is tipping, which I really don't like. In Canada, we just have this ridiculous notion of tipping. So normally what happens is when you're eating out in Canada or you're grabbing a coffee or literally you're anywhere where you're getting some sort of food or beverage, you are expected to tip 15 or 20% of the bill to your server. We do this because in Canada, servers are paid a little bit less than minimum wage. I think it's around $10 if I remember correctly. So you as the consumer are expected to sort of fill this gap so that the servers have a minimum/working wage. But when we're expected to pay 15 to 20%, we're no longer filling that gap. We're just literally throwing the money. Let me just explain with an example. So recently, I went to a restaurant with my friends. We each ordered pizza and we had a pitcher of sangria. We stayed for about an hour on the patio and our bill was $100. We each paid separately and we ended up giving between $6 and $7 in tip to our server. So collectively, she received a $25 tip from our table for the full hour. Now, my main issue is that we saw our server a total of 2 times. 1 when she took our order and 2 when she came to drop off the food. So I personally don't believe that that type of service is necessarily worth a wage and then such a massive tip. Another thing to mention is that this waitress was serving about 5 or 6 other tables on the patio, which means that if everyone stayed for about an hour and ordered approximately the same amount of food, this waitress would receive somewhere around a $150 tip per hour on top of her wage. And I personally think that's ridiculous. Now, don't get me wrong. I have been a hostess, a server, and a bartender. I know how much freaking work it is to do that job. But I just honestly don't believe that it is literally worth that much money per hour. And I think it's unfair that in Canada we ask customers to pay that much. I absolutely think that servers should be paid a fair wage, not a minimum one, a fair wage. I don't think it's fair that customers in Canada are asked to pay 15 to 20% in tips. It just makes going out this insanely expensive experience. I feel like I'm really digressing from the point here, but in Paris, servers are paid a fair wage and they have like a general benefit package that you get when you work as a salary employee for a company. So customers in Paris are not expected to add any sort of tip. It is literally socially acceptable to not leave a tip. Personally, I will usually leave about 1 or 2 euros in a tip because I was a server in Europe and I know how much work it is. Anyways, after that rant, that is all I have for you guys today on the reverse culture shock of Paris to Toronto. I hope it was interesting. I hope you guys learned something, and let me know down below in the comments if you guys also have any other reverse culture shocks when you go from living in Europe to your own countries. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll leave all my social media links in the description below, and I will see you in my next video.